So communication is a life skill, a basic life skill. Imagine if you could communicate with nobody or no one could understand you. You end up in a place of isolation, depression. You can't get your message across. Effective communication makes life work. We can play these communication games based on the whole way that we've been brought up or experiences that we've had, the self-protection mechanisms that are within us. There's hidden and unhidden places in all of us, and this all interacts with how we communicate with other people. So, due to the increase of technology in our lives and in our organisations, our communication's not always going to be face-to-face. It could take place through messaging, emails, texting, video conferencing, and that allows us to communicate over great distances. We have verbal and non-verbal components to our communication, and it's important that we remember this because this has a big impact on whether our message gets across. The fundamental of communication is that I give you a message, and hopefully the message I give you is the message that you receive. If I send you a message and you don't get the same message that I sent, then no communication. And I'm not just talking about the words that I speak, but the actual meaning and the content of that message. So we need to take a lot of things into account when we're communicating. Whether it's a business source of communication, whether it's a social reason for communicating. And there's a lot of interactions that take place, and they need to create trust and familiarity if we're going to be able to communicate well. So in our ministry, there's a number of places that we're going to communicate. It might be workplace meetings, we might be trying to negotiate some outcomes, we might be delivering presentations, we might be addressing barriers or solving problems or trying to resolve conflict. But wherever you're communicating, you need to be aware of what behaviour is appropriate and what behaviour is not appropriate. And you have to remember, especially in our multicultural world, that it's not the same from person to person. Okay, so everyone is impacted by culture, and I don't just mean your racial background. I don't mean it could be your age or your gender. It could be social position, your economic position. So many things that we don't even think about impact how we communicate with people. So we need to think about these things when we're thinking about how we're going to verbally communicate and how we're going to set our body language when we're communicating, because these are going to impact how that message gets across with every individual person. Whether you're speaking one-to-one or you're speaking to a group of individuals, some of whom may have different demographic makeup. So that's one of the things that you need to think of in terms of barriers. Communicating, it might be, well, have I set the way I'm communicating in the correct way for these people that I'm speaking to? But you need to think of other things like, well, what's the room like? You know, are people going to be hot or cold? Are they going to be listening to me because they're not comfortable or they are comfortable? Are they playing with their phones? Is there a really great conversation going on over the side that someone else is trying to listen to? There's lots of distractions that can stop us getting involved in having conversations. And if you're the listener, if someone's trying to talk to you and you're trying to listen to them, then your focus has to be totally on them and not all these other distractions that are around us. All right, so I mentioned that communication's made up of verbal and non-verbal components. And that's an important fact because communication is only 7%, they have found out through research, 7% the actual words that you say. Okay, 7%. That leaves 93% that has got nothing to do with the actual words that you say. And that's a bit frightening, okay? So 38% is tone. So how you pitch it, the tone you're using. Are you angry? Are you smiley in the way that you are talking? So your voice, your tone. Are you loud or are you soft? All that inputs it. The other 58% is your body language, okay? So if I stand and I'm talking to you and my whole body is crossed over, then I'm not in a position that you're going to feel like I'm actually listening to you because my body language is closed off. Okay, so there's a lot that's conveyed through the way that we're communicating. So that plays a really important role in our modern communication, because if you think about it, how much of your communication cuts out body language? Okay, we get so many clues for what people are talking about, their emotions, through their body language. Okay, so if you can't see any of that, which you can't through email, through text, through Snapchat, through any of your social media, all you can see is words. 7% of meaning. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember, because you're not getting a lot of the clues that you need to. So it's really important to remember that when you are communicating, what is contributing to your communication. All right, so our non-visual technology is removing 93% of our message. All right, so the rest of the time, hopefully when we're not on our technology, we are having one-on-one or one-on-group, but personal communication, okay? And the important thing is that we learn to listen, all right? A typical person spends 70% of their waking moments listening, okay? So your listening skills are really important. They affect your friendships, your family relationships, and your effectiveness at work. Unfortunately, we tend not to be good listeners. Research claims that 75% of oral communication is either ignored, misunderstood, or quickly forgotten. It's a bit frightening, isn't it? Even more rare is the ability to listen to what people are really saying. It's not just the words, but what they're really saying, the meaning behind them. Things go in one ear and out the other. So researchers say that we can only effectively listen for about 1/3 of the time unless we have the opportunity to feedback, to talk, or to respond. So there's a difference between hearing, which is just a physical sound going through and working in your eardrum and something comes through into your brain, to listening, okay? So you can hear and repeat verbatim what somebody has said, but that doesn't mean you actually listened to what they were saying. Did you interpret what they were saying? Did you understand the meaning that they were conveying? We need to become empathetic leaders. And to help us do that, we're going to look at 3 attributes or 3 sets of skills that we might need. And I'm only going to go through them fairly quickly, because when we go to our workshop, we'll have plenty of opportunity to practice these and to talk about them more. Okay, so the first set of skills is attending skills, the second is following skills, and the third is reflecting skills. Okay, so they're pretty self-explanatory. Like, attending skill is how you attend to someone. How are you listening to them? So there's a few things that's involved. It's your posture involvement. A good acronym to remember is SOLAR. Are you standing or sitting square to someone? So if you're talking to them with side on, you're not open to what they're saying. So S, standing or sitting square on. O, you have an open posture. So you don't have to sort of open like this, but don't close yourself off when you're talking to them. L, lean forward a little bit, show some interest. E, eye contact. So are you looking someone in the eye? And relaxed. And I don't mean lounging back, but not sitting like as if you've got a rod up your back, but just a relaxed posture. So someone knows that you are listening to them. Okay, appropriate body movement. So you might move your head or your hands a little bit, not frenetically, but so that you're not looking like you're in a coma. And be in a non-distracting environment. Remember, you don't want to be half listening to that conversation that's going on over there. All right, attending skills. Following skills. So you might say things like, that's interesting, tell me more. Or you might just say or yes, or things that show that you are following their conversation. You might ask a question, okay, to get the next bit of information out of them if you feel like they're not quite sure where their conversation is going. And don't forget silence. Attentive silence is okay. If someone stops and in their conversation and just trying to collect their thoughts, you don't have to jump in because silence is scary, okay? A little bit of silence is okay. Give people time to follow, to keep going, and you can follow that conversation. All right, so the final thing is reflecting skills. We want to reflect back what we've heard, okay? So we want to reflect back 3 different things. We want to reflect that we've heard the content of the message, so we know the actual words that they're saying. We want to reflect back the feeling, so we understand the emotion that they're feeling, okay? And we want to reflect back a summative sort of reflection. So I can hear that this is happening to you and it's making you feel like this, so that they understand that you have heard them, that you know what they're feeling and you've followed their conversation. You can paraphrase some of what they've said to sum it up, okay? So it's just a quick going over of these 3 skills, okay? So you want attending skills so that you're paying attention, you want following skills to keep the conversation going, and you want reflecting skills so you can reflect back what you've heard and that person knows that you have been attentive to them and you are following along and that you do know what they've said, that it's not just words for you, but that it means something and you're able to help them move through whatever process that they're going through. Okay, that's just a quick summary of our skills and for active listening, and I look forward to doing some more work with you all when we do our workshop soon. Thank you.